Our communities of faith are at the center of our communities. The reality is that regardless of what your faith is, whether you call the Almighty God, whether you call him Allah, whether you call him Buddha, whether you call him Yahweh, it's the fact that we're united together in the belief that there is a greater power. And for those of you that don't know, one of my other jobs happened to be a youth minister up at St. Pius Church in Plainview. And one of the things that we talk about with those kids, and it's all high school kids, is the fact that we all have a responsibility to something greater than ourselves. That recognition that we all have individual gifts and talents, and that we give back to the Almighty by using those gifts and talents to make our corner of the world a little bit better. And as I'm looking around the room and I see members of the Rotary Club, members of Kiwanis, members of the Chamber of Commerce, so many of our community leaders, so many of our faith leaders from so many different and diverse beliefs, it's you that make up community. I've had the chance to serve as a Nassau County legislator. I now have the honor of serving in the New York State Senate. I can tell you that the important things that happen, the things that mean the most to our community, the things that mean the most in our daily lives, aren't things that happen in Mineola. They're not things that happen up in Albany, I can promise you that. They're not things that happen down in Washington. They're things that happen right here in this room with the people that are here tonight, giving of yourselves to make our community a better place. And one of the reasons that I am so excited to be here, and one of the reasons that I am so excited to represent this community, and one of the reasons that I'm so excited that organizations like PACE exist, is because its sole purpose is to bring our community together. One of my favorite quotes, and some of you have heard me mention, was from a former president, Ronald Reagan. And President Reagan said, one of the beautiful things about America is that in America, our origins matter less than our destinations. Where we came from matters less than where we are going together. And that is the message of PACE. Because we each have a role to play. This is our country. We all came from somewhere else. My family came from Italy and Ireland. We made our impact on this country and became part of the fabric of a beautiful nation. And whether you are from Pakistan, whether you are from India, whether you are from China, wherever you are from, you now are part of the beautiful fabric and the beautiful story that is America. This is your home. And as elected officials, and I'm so grateful that we had so many that were here tonight, as elected officials, it is our job to help you make this beautiful county of ours, this beautiful state of ours, this beautiful country of ours, your home. And that's why you heard so many talk about the fact that we are your representatives. And they're 100% true. And so whether you have a question, whether you have a concern, whether you have an issue, whether you just want to call up and ask for advice on something, you should feel free to call each and every one of us, because each and every one of us are here to help you. Don't be afraid whether it's a county issue and you happen to be calling me up in Albany. If I can't help you, I will get you to someone who can. That's what good elected officials do. And the folks that you had up here, and the gentleman that we had here before, Mike Giagregorio, who is running for the Nassau County Legislature, believe very much the same thing. They are all excellent elected officials who are here to help you. But one of the other messages that Saeed said so beautifully is the fact that this is not a spectator sport. Civic engagement, empowering our communities, means being active and engaged in our communities. One of the things about this country is that any great change that's ever been accomplished is because of action. Part of being home here in America, part of making this your own, is speaking up, using your voice, using your influence to affect the kind of change that you want. All throughout our history, whether it was the Industrial Revolution, whether it was the fight, our own Civil War to end the scourge of slavery, whether it was the Civil Rights Movement, it was people who stood up and were unafraid to speak their mind, to use their influence, and to make positive change. That is what makes this country better. And you can be a part of that. Making sure that you get involved in all of the organizations that make our communities great. Making sure that you're unafraid to share your views, to share your opinions, to talk to your neighbors. Making sure that you're informed about the issues that are going on. Because as Councilman Carini referenced, we're all here, we came from someplace, but we all choose to stay here because we want to make our community great. And no matter where you come from, we all want the same things. We want safe streets. We want good schools. We want opportunities for our kids and for our grandkids to achieve amazing success. This is the land of opportunity if we create and keep the values and the institutions that create that opportunity and make sure that they stay true to those values. We all play a part. And so I would encourage each and every one of you, as I said, to be active, to engage, and for the folks that we're sitting up here, to challenge us as your representatives, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to make our communities more diverse, to make our communities safer, to provide a better quality of life. Because now that I've been up in Albany, I've had the opportunity to see firsthand some of the challenges, the origins of some of the challenges that we're facing today. Nassau County, for example, we see it on our own Ring doorbell cameras. Nassau County today is less safe than it was 5 years ago. It's less safe than it was 2 years ago. Nassau County has a 38% increase in violent crime in just the last year alone. And that's not because our police aren't doing an outstanding job. It's not because they're not working hard. It's because the laws that we put in place up in Albany have favored criminal defendants and made it more difficult for the police to do their job. And that doesn't mean that we need to throw everything out. The concept of bail reform and restoring equity is important. We want to make sure that the system is fair, not just for one particular group of people, that the system is fair for everyone. But we have an obligation to keep our communities safe. And so we need to be engaging our communities, talking about policing, talking about ways that we can make the system more effective and more efficient, but talking about ways that we can ensure that the police are going to be able to continue to do their primary responsibility, which is to protect our communities and protect each of us so that we have the opportunity to exercise those freedoms. They referenced the governor's housing proposal, for example. And I don't know that many of you have had the opportunity to actually listen to what that proposal is. Around every Long Island railroad station, there are 50, by the way, throughout Nassau County. The governor wants a density of housing of 50 units per acre, within a half a mile radius, a mile circumference of every railroad station. Now, quick math lesson. I had to look this up. Jack Martin's actually told me. Great guy, by the way. Fellow colleague on the state Senate. I wouldn't have been able to do this math myself. Anybody know how many acres there are in a mile circumference? Just shout it out. Right? If you would believe it, 503. With a housing density of 50 per acre, you are talking about 25,000 housing units around every Long Island Railroad station, all of the 50 Long Island Railroad stations in Nassau County. If there's just one person in each of those housing units, that increases Nassau County's population by 1.25 million people, doubling our population. How do you sustain that? How does our infrastructure sustain that? How do our schools sustain that? How do the police sustain that? How do our our emergency services sustain that? How does our sole source aquifer sustain that? Where we draw all our water from. And we're over pumping our aquifer, for example, by about 9% a year as it is with our current population. That's where each of us come into play. Making sure that we stand up, making sure that we speak with one voice, making sure that we go against proposals like this. I don't mean to get into so much detail, but making sure that we hold our elected officials accountable in fighting for the things that will preserve our quality of life and make our communities better is very much an American thing to do. And it's very much the responsibility of everyone in this room. But ultimately, I want to, and I know we've got Kate, and I know I may have actually spoken longer than Saeed. But ultimately, if there's one message that I wanted to give to you, is that this is our community. It's all of our homes. It belongs to each and every one of us. And we need to work together to make our community stronger, to make our community safer, to make our community better. I am so excited to have the honor of serving as your New York State Senator and get the chance to work with each and every one of you to make that happen. So thank you to PACE for putting together this amazing evening. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you for attending. God bless this country we love, and God bless our diversity. Thank you so much. And I'll be happy. By the way, I'll be happy to stay, and I know we're supposed to be question and answer any questions that you have. Thank you, and God bless each and every one.